Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. I love you. Sending you a very big virtual hug wherever you are on the earth plane in this powerful now moment. So the word that kept coming in the last couple of days is fear. And when I sat in meditation this morning, I want to share what came through around fear. So as many of you know, we are evolving in our consciousness, which means that we are moving out of consciousnesses that are in a lower frequency, and we are moving into consciousnesses that are in a higher frequency. So we're moving into higher states of consciousness. Moving meaning we are being. When we move into something, we are stepping into it. We are being it. Natural process. We can call it evolution. We can call it ascension. It's the exact same thing. Moving from one state to another state. So one of the consciousnesses that we have been inundated with for thousands of years is fear. Fear is a consciousness. It's an energy. Just like any other emotion. It's an energy. It moves. All energy moves. So fear is very dense. So when we experience fear, it's a slowed down consciousness. So joy is a very fast consciousness. It's in a higher state, so it spins faster. So we experience it easier. It's easier to feel it. It moves through us quicker. We may not find ourselves wallowing in joy, right? It just goes through, we experience it. We sort of just let joy be. When you have a consciousness like fear, a very, very slow spinning consciousness, when we start to experience it, it moves very slowly through our system. And then we connect to it, we attach to it, we create realities around it, stories around it. It becomes very big, even though all it is just a simple consciousness moving through us. But it moves slowly. So we sit in fear. We hold on to fear. Fear stays inside our bodies. Fear creates stress, anxiety, worry, sickness. So first, one of the things my guides really wanted me to get across to all of us today is, can we start to look at fear as solely a consciousness? Step out, detach from the power that fear holds, and see it just for what it is, right? It's like you're looking at the illusion. Look beyond and see what fear actually is. It's just an energy. It has no power or control over you. That is how we start to step out of a third dimensional matrix. We start to realize that what we thought was powerful and all-encompassing and our truth was really just an illusion. And fear is the exact same way. So we are starting to step out of fear. We are starting to release the grip that fear has had on us. One of many of the things that fear does when we start to consume it, so something happens externally, or something has happened in the past, or something may happen in the future, and we allow ourselves to start to feel or experience fear. And this is how powerful fear is. It will create the illusion of disempowerment. You now are not empowered. You will feel like you don't have the ability to make a choice. You will feel like you are disembodied or sort of out of alignment with who you are. And you will start looking to the external for your validation, for your power, for your voice. It's a very, very manipulative and controlling consciousness. And we are so used to experiencing it as a collective that many times we don't even realize that we are digesting fear. We don't even realize it. We see it as it's a message, it's information, it's what so-and-so is telling me. Right? It's what's in the news. It's what this person on YouTube is saying, right? Go beyond the physical illusion and dive deeper into what you are digesting, which for many of us is fear. when you listen to a message, when you hear somebody speaking, when you have an engagement with somebody, do you start to feel fear? How will I know? I'll start to have physical palpitations of some sort, perhaps. Stress, anxiety, worry. My heart might start to beat. I'll start to feel disempowered. I'll start to look to the external. I'll start to feel as if I have no choice. I can't make a choice any longer. It's so debilitating. It's crazy what fear will do. And here is the layering of fear. So there is an instinctual fear, right? Like, don't go jump off that cliff, right? There's a fear of jumping off the cliff because you're going to kill yourself, right? So that's an instinctual fear, fight or flight fear. That's not the fear I'm talking about. That's an internal instinctual fear that the human has to keep themselves safe. The fears I'm talking about are fears that are created from a past, traumas, right? Abuses, emotions, beliefs, all based on past behaviors. These are things that are based on in a past that you've had that in the now may be creating fear. I'm afraid of getting into a relationship. I'm afraid of leaving my job because I might not have money because, 13 years ago, I lost my job and I had no money, right? I'm afraid of having a child because, 15 years ago when I tried to have a child, blah, blah, blah. So there's all these scenarios that we experience now that create fear within us based on a past. Then there are all of these fears that we experience now based on a future. I'm afraid that I'll always be alone. I'm afraid that I'll never make money. I'm afraid that I'll be in my job forever. There's these fears. They're not in the now moment. They're based on something that you're predicting may or may not happen. So really start to pay attention to your fears that you're experiencing. Because when you're in a now moment state, the fear that you're having is minuscule compared to the fears that we create based on a past or a future. And the fear that you're fearing in a now moment based on an external, based on media, based on the government, based on the scientific community, based on any system coming in, is that fear that you're feeling based on a now moment? Most likely it's not. Most likely it's based on something that's coming. So we're dissecting fear. Okay, so here are a couple things, a couple questions you can start to ask yourself, because the more we dissect fear, the easier it is to break free of fear, because we're always going to feel it. We're standing in a third dimensional matrix. And when you stand in a third dimensional matrix or a third dimensional field, you have access to the third dimensional consciousnesses, which is fear. So feeling fear isn't wrong or bad. It's part of being in this human body, standing on and in a third dimensional matrix. Nothing wrong with feeling fear. Nothing wrong with feeling anything that we feel that's part of a third dimensional consciousness. But the key here is to understand it and to break out of it so it doesn't have control over you. You are the magician playing in this third dimensional field. You're playing in it. So you're going to feel fear. The key is, can I just see it as energy moving through my body like a sloth perhaps, but it doesn't have control over me. I'm in charge. I am always in charge. So I'm just going to feel the fear. Just like I would feel joy, just like I would feel peace, just like I would feel love. It is no different. It just has a different frequency to it. So it physically feels different in your body, and it has different characteristics that you respond to. It's not in charge. It doesn't own you, and it doesn't create your reality unless you allow it to. So here are some questions to ask yourself. 1, is this fear that I'm feeling? First of all, feel the fear. Feel it. That's first and foremost. You got to feel the fear. Second, is this based on a now moment? You got to ask yourself that, because a lot of times we believe the fear when it has nothing to do with the now moment. If it has nothing to do with my now moment, then I start to ask myself, do I feel safe right now? In this now moment, do I feel safe? Safe to feel, safe to express, safe to walk around in my house. Maybe you don't. There's no right or wrong answer, but just ask yourself these questions. Third question, is this my fear or did it come from the external? Your fear would be something from the past, something from the future perhaps that you're afraid of, or something from the external. Where is your fear coming from? Get clear on it. This is how we dissect it. 4, what is the story that this fear is telling you? What's the storyline? It's just an energy. Fear is just an energy. You give it the power that you are choosing to give it. Fear is just a now moment, if it's actually in your now moment. Otherwise, it is an illusion that isn't even real. So what is the story that fear is telling you? Do you want to believe it or not? It's your choice. And 5, can I just breathe it through without reacting or going into it? Can I just breathe it through without reacting or going into it? Meaning, if somebody tells me something and it creates that internal fear, all of a sudden I'm feeling that energy moving through me of fear. Can I just breathe it through without buying into it, without attaching to it, without making it my reality? This is a choice over and over and over, whether you allow fear to control you or not. It is an absolute choice. Fear is not the powerful, being that we give it. It's not powerful unless we allow it to be powerful. So 1, is this based on the now? 2, do I feel safe right now? 3, is this my fear or did it come from the external? 4, what is the story around the fear? And 5, can I just sit and breathe it through without reacting or going into it? We are not here to evolve or ascend by holding on to fear, by letting fear control us. We are becoming multidimensional, sovereign, creator beings, which means that no consciousness that can be experienced in this third dimensional field has control over me. None. All consciousness, emotion, thought, belief, behavior is strictly energy, and I am in charge of how I respond to any energy. Always. You're not a victim, even to fear, and you always have a choice how you navigate fear. Always. This is how powerful you are as a creator being in physical form, experiencing this reality, shifting from a third dimensional matrix and field into a fifth dimensional matrix and field. Fear has no power over you. You're much more powerful. So amazing what we're here to do. So courageous to really start peeling back these layers. I love you. Thank you for being here.